Hi guys, I'm going to go over the Earth's water review one more time. If you need this or were absent today and need some help with some of the questions, I'm going to go through it pretty quickly. You can stop me and rewind me if I'm going too fast. Number one said, what is the gradually sloping part of the continent that extends out under the ocean called? That is the continental shelf. So number one was continental shelf. Number two, the place where the new ocean floor forms is called the mid-ocean ridge. That's where the magma's rising up through a trench, it cools and it hardens, and forms new ocean floor. So that's the mid-ocean ridge. Number three says, winds cause what type of currents? And those are surface currents when the wind is blowing across the surface of the water. Number four, what happens to a wave as it approaches the shoreline? It loses speed, so it gets slower. The wavelengths decrease, so the waves get closer together, and the wave heights increase until they crash. The parts of the ocean floor over here, A, that's the continental shelf. B, where it drops off, would be the continental slope. C is a big crevice or crack in the ocean floor. That's a trench. Now beside C over here, that's the mid-ocean ridge. And then this little structure beside the mid-ocean ridge is a seamount. The seamount that rises above the water surface, that's a volcanic island. D, this large flat area, is known as an abyssal plain. And then what's rising back up to the continent, this would be continental slope again, and up here would be part of the continental shelf. Number 7 says, which part of the ocean floor is known as the true edge of the continent? That's the continental slope. Number 8, what characteristics increase as the depth of the ocean water increases? The salinity, the pressure, and the density all increase, while the temperature and the sunlight decrease. For the wave parts, number right over here at the top of this wave, that's a crest. At the bottom of this wave, the bottom part is the lowest part of a wave is the trough. From one crest measuring over to another crest is the wave length. And then from the top of the crest down to the trough, that's the wave height. This is actually on the back of your chart. Sketching the spring tide, you would have had the Earth, Sun, and Moon in a line. So you would have had Sun, Earth, Moon, or Sun, Moon, Earth. Or you could have had Earth, Moon, Sun, or Moon, Earth, Sun. But they needed to be in a straight line. For neap tide, they would have formed a right angle. If the sun was here, then the Earth would be here and the moon would either be directly above it or directly below it, forming a right angle. If the sun was over here, the Earth would be here, moon up or moon down. Moon phases for springtide is new and full moon. For neap tide, it's first and third quarter moon. The effects on tides during springtide, there's the greatest difference between high and low tides, and during neap tides, there's the least difference between high and low tides. Remember, this is because the gravity of the moon and the sun are pulling against each other. Number 9 said on the back sheet, what is the area between low tide and high tide where tide pools are located? What's that known as? That is the intertidal zone. And how are ocean features classified? They are classified by where they live and how they move. Now, plankton, those are floaters. They depend on waves and currents to get them from one place to another. Examples of that would be algae or zooplankton. Nekton are free swimmers. Those are a lot of the creatures that we think about when we think of the ocean. They can swim anywhere they want. Like examples would be your sharks, your dolphins, most fish, whales. Benthos, think of the B in benthos for bottom. They live on the bottom of the ocean. They are bottom dwellers. Sorry about that. Benthos are bottom dwellers. There's two different types of benthos. There's mobile, which means they move, and then there's stable, which means they stay in one place. Examples of mobile benthos would be your lobsters, your crabs, your starfish. Examples of stable benthos would be your sea anemones, your sea sponges. Number 11 said what areas would have low salinity in the oceans. That would be at the mouths of big rivers. That would have low salinity because fresh water is joining salt water, adding more water and no more salt. Number 12 said what area would be where we would find most of the usable, keyword usable, water from human consumption, and that's in the groundwater. Even though most fresh water is frozen, it's not usable for our consumption. Back to the front side, what makes seawater different from the water in our homes is because it contains dissolved minerals in it, like salt. And number 14, does the total amount of water on Earth change? If so, how? And if not, why not? The total amount of water does not change because of our water cycle. If it's evaporating in one area, it's coming down as precipitation in another. Number 15 said, where is the greatest amount of Earth's fresh water located? It's frozen. Remember that 76% of that fresh water is frozen in your polar ice caps and your glaciers. Out of the total water on Earth, what percentage of Earth's water is fresh? It's only 3%. 97% is salt water. Number 17, how much of Earth is covered by water and by land? About 3/4, or about 70% is water, about 25%, 30% is land. So about 3/4 is water, about 1/4 is land. Number 18 says, which gas is about 60 times more plentiful in the ocean than it is in the atmosphere? That's carbon dioxide. Number 19 says, which ocean touches Georgia? That's the Atlantic Ocean. You also should know that the Pacific Ocean is the largest and the deepest ocean. It's also where the Marianas Trench is, and that's the deepest part on Earth. Number 20 says what causes tides? Well, that's the interaction between the sun, the moon, and the earth. Specifically, if you look down to number 24, it says what object is most responsible for the tides on Earth, and that's the moon's gravity. That's the moon's gravity. And I'm not sure what I just did there, y'all. Number 21 says, what's the main cause of surface currents? That is the wind blowing across the surface of the water. And then what's the main cause of deep currents? That's the difference in densities. And the difference in the density is caused by the difference in the temperature and the difference in the salinities. Number 24 said what object is most responsible for tides on Earth? Again, we said that it was the moon's gravity. Number 25, how many tides do places have each day? It's 2 high tides, 2 low tides. So 4 a day, and they alternate from high to low every 6 hours. Number 26 says an area of water, I should say a land, that drains into a river or lake is called what? That's a watershed. Number 27 said what source of energy drives the water cycle? That would be the sun. And then the last question on the front side is where is water least likely to evaporate? That is groundwater in an aquifer. Remember, that's way down below the bedrock. Please study. You need to do well on this test tomorrow. Again, rewind and look at it if you need to. Good luck.